This is my AD hat I used to wear all the time when I was shooting on location in the city. That way, if somebody said, who's in charge, guys could point to the guy in the red hat. Anyway, my favorite thing about working with Don was the places we went. I produced shoots for him in 9 or 10 states, many times in serious boondocks. One place we shot in the Utah mountains could only be accessed by mule or helicopter. Don was not fond of choppers, but mules are a tad slow. Our first trip to Tucson was for a pickup truck spot. I don't remember if it was Ford or Chevy, showing that it was powerful enough to tow the world's largest truck. Look at the wheels on this thing. Each one of them are 11 feet high. I don't know how many tons of ore it hauls, but it's a big, big truck. We went back to Tucson a few months later for the start of an extensive shoot for Phillips Petroleum about exploring for oil. The first 2 shooting days were south and east of Tucson, and the last a week later in a Louisiana swamp. Here's part of what passed for a storyboard. There were 2 locations near Tucson. One was on a mountain a few miles south of town. This proved to be a very challenging environment. Not only that, but Don decided that he needed a dolly track platform built on the precipitous mountainside. This was not in the budget, and so I had several lengthy phone conversations with David Johnson in New York. With the help of my Arizona production coordinator, Ann Fish, we located a carpenter who was willing to undertake a construction project in this unforgiving setting. For this day, there were the Jug Hustlers, college geology students who laid out grids of jugs, electronic sensors that read rock strata, and a shot of the helicopter bringing in their gear. The Louisiana shooting location was accessible only by water, so I hired some Cajun boatmen who were strange, but they were accommodating. We drove about an hour out of New Orleans to the Cajuns' compound. There, we boarded a couple of large power cruisers and started up a river to the swamp. After 30 or 40 minutes, we changed into several outboard motorboats for another 15 or 20 minutes, and finally, into a flotilla of pirogues, small, flat-bottomed boats. We city slickers were in the middle of nowhere, a beautiful and vibrant nowhere, teeming with life, much of which seemed alien and a bit scary. Around sunset, when the light was right, Don was able to determine the camera and boat positions for the next afternoon. On the shoot day, for once, we didn't have to be up before dawn. By 9 a.m., we were at the Cajuns' place and headed out to the shoot site for a final look and rehearsal. Our Oklahoma Jug Hustler is in a pirogue just outside the left of this photo. On the right is our key grip, David Fang Yuen, in hip waders holding a reflector. As the sun started to set and we were about to make the shots, there arose several deep growling noises. The Cajuns explained that this was the alligators who came out to feed at dusk. Fang was the only guy not in a boat, and he became somewhat agitated at this news. I pointed out that gators don't like Chinese food. This got a good laugh from everyone but Fang.
Searching for oil here in the U.S. had gotten harder and harder. We had laid miles of heavy seismic cable just about everywhere we could. Then, Phillips came up with a new way to search, using portable units like this. It works in mountains, swamps, hundreds of places too hard to search before. So soon, this country may be crawling with crews like ours, looking for oil here at home, to replace some that's now being bought from foreign countries.
Phillips Petroleum. Good things for cars and the people who drive them.
Strangely, Don's most intriguing shoot was entirely indoors. Very, very indoors. A maximum security joint and a scary place. This job was a public service announcement, as such spots are called, for the National Council on Child Abuse. The tagline was, "Help destroy a family tradition," and it was based on a statistic which showed that a very high percentage of people who are incarcerated for violent crimes were abused as children. So Don and I went to Kansas State Penitentiary, where all the inmates are lifers who have been convicted of violent crimes. This was the first time I'd ever been inside a maximum security prison. Sing Sing came a few years later. We had to interview inmates, never called prisoners, and without them knowing the purpose of the interview, find out which had been abused as children. The original plan had been to do the same at a nearby women's prison and bring a couple of women to shoot in the men's facility, but the authorities decided that this was not a good idea, and so we hired a local actress, and my wife, Elizabeth, a SAG member, found herself in a cell. One of several things we were cautioned about was our tools. The crew members were told to keep a close eye on the kits. But after the first 10 or 15 minutes of the shoot day, we forgot all about the caution. The place was not locked down while we worked, so there were lots of guys just watching. It was sort of like shooting in a school quarter with the kids looking on, except for the fact that there were cells instead of classrooms, and our audience was comprised entirely of seriously dangerous men.
You are looking at an abused child. Most men and women in prison today were abused children. The severe neglect and physical, sexual, and emotional abuse of our children make child abuse a national tragedy. It is estimated that there are at least 1 million cases of it in America each year. Over 2,000 of those abused children die each year. And because many abused children grow up to abuse their own children, child abuse is passed on from generation to generation. For many families, child abuse is a family tradition. Yet child abusers can be helped. Help destroy a family tradition. Write Prevent Child Abuse, Box 2866, Chicago, Illinois, 60690.
Other than the loss of freedom, I think the worst thing about being in prison is the boredom. Every day is the same. Nothing happens. Well, we were an event, and the most interesting thing that most of these guys had seen in their entire lives. So we had an enthusiastic audience and no problems at all.